So, good evening, all. Happy Sunday to all my dear students. We have with us Advocate Shreya Seth. So, before I hand over this session to her, let me just give you a brief introduction about her. So, Ms. Shreya Seth is a associate partner with Kumar and Company. Shreya Seth is an alumnus of Symbiosis Law School, Noida, graduated in 2015. Ms. Seth is enrolled with the State Bar Council of Delhi with litigation practice spanning across multitude of courts and forums. An experienced, disciplined, and performance-driven professional in the legal sector. Ms. Sheth practices at the High Court of Delhi and at the High Court Bombay Nagpur bench, having previously worked with the litigation and dispute resolution team of various law firms such as Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, Luthra and Luthra Law Offices, Seth Dua and Associates, etc. Ms. Seth has acquainted a great insight into the nuances of civil and commercial litigation. During her academic years, Ms. Sheth was lucky to learn from the best in the industry during her stints as intern at a philanthropy of top-level firms like AZB and Partners, J. Sagar Associates, Amarchand and Mangaldas, and Suresh A. Shroff and Company, and Ketan Sud and Partners. She also had the privilege of interning under the able guidance of Honorable Justice Sanjeev Sachdev, sitting judge of the Delhi High Court. Ms. Seth has always been a passionate speaker and had actively participated and won several national and international level competitions across various formats, including moot courts, parliamentary debates, and MUNS. With this, we welcome you, Shreya.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
So before we start with your session, I just wanted to give the students a brief introduction about Vikalp Academy. Vikalp Academy is basically into law entrance preparation for CLAT, IELTS, and other law entrances. We also prepare students for IPM and BBA entrances. Vikalp Education is a part of Vikalp Academy, and we are known for continuously doing such kind of webinars for our students to not only give them a understanding about the subject, but also give them a hands-on experience from the experts from industry. So thank you being with us, Ms. Sheth, and the session is over to you.
Thank you so much, Shweta, for the very kind information and for having me here as a speaker for today's discussion, which is on practical aspects of legal industry. I am grateful to Vikalp Education for organizing this very important discussion with young students who are just in their, formative years, or let's just say who are just out of school and wanting to enter law school. So this is a topic which I hope and believe will add a lot to the minds of these young students that we have as audience with us today. A very good evening to all of you. I hope you've had a great weekend, and I'm so very grateful and thankful to you for sparing time out on a weekend for a webinar on practical aspects of legal industry. As Shweta has already introduced me, my name is Shreya Seth. I'm an advocate and I am currently associated with Kumar & Co. I practice out of Nagpur and I have offices in Bombay and Delhi as well. So that's just a brief introduction about me. Let us move forward to today's webinar and discuss the entire aspect of how the legal industry works practically. So let me first take you through a little bit of my journey in this legal fraternity. whatever little journey I have had till now. Let me just first discuss that with you. And after that, I will definitely discuss how and what you should do to make the most of your 5 years in law school so that you are best suited for the legal industry. And definitely, the crux of the discussion would remain on some small tips on how you can ace your CLAT exam, which is upcoming very soon in the next 20-22 days. So let me begin by discussing about a little bit about my own journey first. So as Shweta rightly introduced, I'm currently associated with the Bar Council of Delhi. I graduated in the year 2015, and I have done my graduation in BBA LLB. I have graduated from Symbiosis Institute, Symbiosis Law School, which is, and I happen to be a first generation lawyer. I do not come from a family, or I do not have a background of lawyers in my family. So the whole journey that you are about to commence in terms of your journey to become a lawyer now, it's very imperative for you to first, before you embark upon this journey, you should know what the journey looks like, or what the journey can be for you once you are in it, and once on the other side of the table. So I completed my school from Delhi Public School, Mathura Road in New Delhi. And as all of you are sailing in the same boat, I was once upon a time, 10 years back, in this very boat, preparing for my entrance exams. Law was, I wouldn't say law was not my obvious choice. Yes, it was one of my most obvious choices that I wanted to pursue a career in law. So my first option was law, and if I wouldn't have taken up law, I would have taken up journalism. That were my two options in front of me after I completed my schooling. I come from a commerce background, so taking up BBA LLB was the most obvious choice that I made, because I already had some sort of an exposure to subjects of accounts, management, economics, and that in fact definitely helped me in pursuing BBA LLB. And I am not sure, but a lot of you may not be aware that a lot of national law schools do not offer BBA LLB as one of the as a integrated 5-year program. They focus majorly on BA LLB. So Symbiosis Law School was one of the options that I had in front of me, and definitely I would say it was one of the best decisions that I made while selecting my law school, because I was able to shape my 5 years of law school in a very, very definitive manner, and Symbiosis definitely prepared me for life after law school, and for the for the legal industry at large. So I graduated in 2015. And after that, let me tell you, I come from Symbiosis Law School, Noida. And I happen to be the first batch which actually graduated from Symbiosis Law School, Noida, because the campus at Noida had commenced its operations in 2010. And I was the first, I along with others, we were the first batch who actually took admissions in Symbiosis. So we graduated in 2015, and definitely we had our own set of challenges to face when we were fresh in the market, because we never had any network of alumni, so to say, who would recognize us as their juniors in the legal fraternity. Getting a job for us was very difficult. However, our college supported us pretty much, as we had a program of continuous and running internship. I will definitely discuss this in detail when we talk about what you should actually do in your 5 years at law school. So our college supported us and encouraged us to participate in a continuous running internship program. So let me tell you, we used to go to attend classes from 7:30 in the morning to 10:30, and thereafter we used to go to different internships, and this happened for a good 2 years. So I would say that that was the turning point which actually transformed us from a student to a professional, because we started living the life of a professional while we were in law school, and we were able to get hands-on experience of what the legal industry actually looks like before we stepped out of the college gate. that definitely aided us in developing our legal acumen, definitely in making a network of contacts, which is very important when you come to when we talk of lawyers and the legal fraternity at large. I'm sure you must be aware that legal industry in particular is a very close knit circle. uh, Fortunately or unfortunately, it so happens that everyone knows everyone in a legal industry. So the idea of running internship was to, of course, develop our legal acumen, to develop a network and a contact base, which which in fact helped us to get a job when we were out of law school after graduating in 2015. Definitely, we had a campus placement system as well, and I was fortunate enough to get placed on campus. So I started with my first job in 2015. It was at a very small boutique law firm. It's again based out of Noida, and we were a team of 6 to 7 people in that small office. I have always been into litigation and dispute resolution. I hope you all understand what we mean by litigation and dispute resolution. For those who don't, let me just give a brief on that. Litigation is basically everything to do with your courtroom work or your court cases. So that, and dispute resolution, as you all may know, it is a wider ambit and includes litigation, arbitration, and other mechanisms in it. So I always had inclination towards having myself on the other side of the computer screen, and I always was pretty much keen and interested in how to understand how real courtroom drama functions and what are the nuances of arguing before the judge. That was something which always brought a thrill in me. So keeping that in mind, I strategized my internship during 5 years of my law school in a manner that it helped me get the right sort of job after I graduated in 2015. So I started working with the litigation team, and I was working with them for a good period of, say, 2 years. And so the advantage of why I'm telling all of this to you is because today it might seem a little premature to you. However, it is to give you an understanding of what exactly you are signing up for when you say that you want to pursue law as a career. So the whole idea of me telling this or me sharing my personal experience of the industry with you is to give you a bird's eye view of how your experience can be once you take up law as a career option. So I worked with them for a good 2 years. And let me tell you, when you're in a very small setup, which has, say, 6 to 7 people, and you're the junior most person who joins the office, a lot of work definitely comes on your shoulders. A lot of responsibility is bestowed upon you, irrespective of whether you are a fresh out of law school and you're still living in that law school life and you're still trying to figure out things. Of course, there are moments when you tend to miss your law school life and you tend to miss your circle of friends, because now, of course, you're in a very different professional environment, and the expectations from you as a law student and as a law professional are something which is very different and are at very different pedestals altogether. So the expectation of an employer from you is not that is of a professional. He doesn't deem you as a law student who has just come out of law school. So there was a lot of work, and I gained some brilliant work experience there. And I then thereafter moved on to another law firm, which is called Luthra and Luthra Law Offices. I am sure you would have heard of these names in the market, because Luthra and Luthra Law Offices, or for that matter, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, are law firms which are very prominent across India. And they have offices in 4 major parts of India as well. And they're deemed to be one of the good law firms in India in terms of their reputation and in terms of the sort of clients they have and the work ethics that they follow. So after a 2 year stint with my first employer, I happened to move to Luthra and Luthra Law Offices. And after I moved to Luthra and Luthra Law Offices, I continued to, however, work with the litigation and dispute resolution team. Now, that transition from working in an office which had, say, 6 to 7 people to moving in an office which had, say, 250 to 300 people was something which was, which was amazing. It was overwhelming, to say the least. How it was overwhelming was because at my first office, I was handling a very different sort of work. I was interacting with a very different type of client, and I was my the work that was delegated upon me was very different. However, now I had moved to another law firm, which was a little more formal and structured in its approach, and definitely it had a good number of employees sitting and operating out of one office. The kind of clients that this law firm was handling was, of course, very different from what I was used to handling. So the stake of the matters that this law firm particularly was handling was, of course, a lot more than what I had handled. So I was gradually transitioning from, let me just give you an analogy. When you join preschool, and then from preschool you come to your junior school. So that was exactly how I was graduating when I joined Luthra and Luthra law offices, because let's just say I was in my junior school now. I worked with Luthra and Luthra law offices for, again, a period of almost 1.5 years roughly. And thereafter, I moved to my last employer, which was Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Now, I am hoping you're aware of Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Earlier, the firm's name was Amarchand Mangaldas to Suresh A. Shroff. There was a split that happened, and two branches of the law firm were formed thereafter, Cyril Amarchand being one and Shardul Amarchand being the other. So I had the brilliant opportunity of getting an offer at Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, and I continue to work with the litigation and disputes team at Cyril Amarchand as well. Now, let me give you again, let me take you back to the analogy that I just quoted. You know, from your preschool, you come to your junior school, and then you come to your high school. So now for me, the transition from Luthra and Luthra to Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas was as if it was going from junior school to high school. So when I moved to Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, I saw a completely different structure, in the sense a completely different formal and a much more organized structure. Now the strength of, I was working with roughly say 500 or 500 to 1,000 odd employees operating out of the same office. It was again something which was amazing and overwhelming, because I was not dealing with so many employees or so many colleagues at that point of time. Definitely the kind of matters which I was getting to work on, the kind of disputes that I was handling at the cost of reputation, they were amazing, in the sense that it taught me various, and it made my exposure and horizon widened to various areas of law. While I was working on, say, a specific set of areas of law while I was at Luthra and Luthra law offices, Cyril Amarchand widened my horizon. I gained a lot of exposure in terms of the forums I argued matters on, or in terms of the kind of cases I dealt, the type of drafting I did. And of course, all these three organizations have a very, very important role in the professional journey that I have had till now, because all these places at their relevant point of time taught me a lot, and a lot more than just law. They taught me how I can deal with a lot of people, a lot of clients. They taught me what I should have done in my law school to be better equipped to deal with this kind of structure of office, or with this sort of an area of law, or with this kind of work atmosphere. So these three places contributed a lot in my professional journey till now. And recently, as Shweta rightly pointed out, I have moved to independent counsel practice, and I've moved my base to Nagpur now, and I have my own law firm, which is Kumar and Co. And we have offices in Delhi and Bombay as well. And I practice at the Nagpur bench. Of course, I continue to practice at the Delhi High Court and Supreme Court as well. So this is a little brief about my experience or my journey so far in the legal fraternity. Now let me tell you what this journey taught me about what all I should have done in 5 years of my law school, or how it actually gave me to introspect that these were the set of things which I did right in the 5 years of my law school for me to have had this brilliant professional journey, touch wood, till now. So when you join law school, and this is especially for all of you, because you all are just fresh out of school right now. The year 2020, I wouldn't say has been that I know this is contrary to a lot of views which people may have. People feel that the COVID-19 pandemic hit 2020 and this is a jinx year and our careers are ruined. What will happen with the entrance exams? The board marks were not announced fairly, this and that. However, I feel that there is some good which is stored in whatever has happened till now in 2020 as well. So never take it upon you or never blame any circumstance, especially an external circumstance, to decide or to let it affect your destiny at large. Because you yourself are the one who is in control of your destiny. Now, whether you would have given CLAT in 2020 or 2019 or 2021, at the end of the day, what is going to decide your destiny is not the pandemic, but it is your hard work and it is your preparation for giving this exam. So do not blame on any external circumstance. Do not feel any less fortunate or do not feel inferior as against people who have already given CLAT the last year or are going to give CLAT the next year. And this is especially for all those people who are who dropped an year to prepare for CLAT and who wanted to give CLAT in 2020. My request to you is that please don't criticize whatever is happening, or please don't feel any less fortunate, or don't think that we should not have dropped this year and we may not be able to give this exam, or we may not be able to do well in this exam. Don't ever criticize any circumstance. You are the master of your own destiny. Always remember that. You are the one who has to make it or break it. The pandemic has nothing to do with all of this. Some things, when they are beyond your control, you can never be upset over them. So don't think about that. Anyways, coming to my discussion on the second point that I wanted to share here, about why the 5 years that you have in front of you at law school, why are they so important? Why am I emphasizing so much on what you should do and what you should do which is right for you to tomorrow come out as a professional and not as a law student? Now, more often than not, what happens is that people tend to take law as a career without being aware of the various options which they have after pursuing the degree of law. Now, when I say that, I mean to say that you may pursue your degree and you may come out after 5 years, you may be a qualified lawyer. However, even after 5 years, you may not be aware of the various avenues which this degree actually opens for you when it comes to the legal industry, or when it comes to the corporate sector at large. So let me just briefly point out the various options you would have when you come out from your law school after 5 years. The first option definitely is that you can get into a corporate sector job. As a lawyer, you may be aware that all corporate companies, all sectors have in-house legal teams. Now, as a lawyer, you can definitely join one of those in-house legal teams. So let me take some examples. Airtel has an in-house legal team, for that matter. Let's just say Reliance also has an in-house legal team. All your insurance companies, they have in-house legal teams. So when we talk the corporate sector, there are various opportunities that you have in front of you vis-a-vis the corporate sector. The second opportunity or the second avenue that is open to you is that you may want to pursue a career in litigation. Now, when I say litigation, I mean to say you may want to pursue or you may want to become a litigator. That is, that you may want to argue cases before the court, and you may want to enhance your horizon vis-a-vis courtroom practice. So litigation is everything to do with your courtroom exposure, your courtroom court craft, your cases which are before the judges. And this is the layman understanding. Of course, as a law student, you will be better equipped to understand what I'm saying later. The third option which is in front of you is that you may want to join judicial services. That is one option, and a lot of you may already have that in mind, that after pursuing your degree of law, you may want to sit for an exam and clear the judicial services. You may also want to pursue the option of going for civil services. A lot of people do that, and why they say that civil servants, that lawyers make good civil servants, or that it's easier for them to crack civil services exams, is also because the fact that we as lawyers have this gifted power of analyzing and logically reasoning things. Be blessed that you have that power. As a lawyer, that is your biggest strength. The strength of critically analyzing and logically reasoning things. So the competitive exams which you may want to give later for civil services, in those situations also, a lot of lawyers fare very well. They do extremely well. The other option that you may have is that you would want to perhaps get into pursuing higher education. Now, when I say higher education, I am not talking about only pursuing LLM. That is one option. But a lot of people, a lot of students would also want to pursue a cross degree. A lot of people I know pursue an MBA degree after they have graduated with a degree of law. A cross degree, always do remember, a cross degree is always very helpful when you come, when you look at the market at large, and when you look at the opportunities which the job market has in front of has to offer you. So a lot of people may want to pursue higher education. Somebody might want to take up LLM and then get into academics, and somebody might want to pursue an MBA and then thereafter get into something to do with marketing or finance. So it depends. So these are broadly the avenues which are available to you once you have pursued your law degree. That I wanted to convey, because a lot of law students, or a lot of students, let me not call you law students yet, a lot of students or students who potentially want to pursue law are not aware about the career avenues, but they just tend to prepare for CLAT, or they tend to prepare for the entrance exams for law, thinking that, let's just give it right now. Once we qualify, once our law school is over, then we will think what we want to do in life. So while I do not agree with this approach, but I do understand that as of now, you are very new in this arena of law and understanding how the legal industry functions. So which is why I thought that it is very important for me to broadly point out the various avenues that are available to you. Now, once you're aware of the avenues, you definitely can understand the idea why I want to discuss that, how you have to shape yourself and your career. But why I say career is because once you graduate after 5 years from your law school, it is, let me tell you, it's not going to be the case that it will come to you on a platter. You will have to build it from the scratch. So all of you, once you crack the CLAT exam, and I know I have been told that Vikalp Academy has a brilliant set of students, and they have tutored you for almost so long that they have full faith and confidence in you that all of you will crack CLAT definitely. So the idea is that once you are in a national law school, and let's just take, for example, you're not in a national law school, you're in any law school for that matter. The idea is that those 5 years in front of you are, let's just say, a clean slate for you. Now, what you put on that slate is entirely in your control, and it's entirely in your hand. You have to fill that slate in a manner that once you come out of your law school after 5 years, that slate is so beautiful. It's basically a picture of art that it is so beautiful that you want to sell it out, and there are n number of buyers to take that art. You understand what I'm saying? Now, that slate that I'm referring to here for you is your resume. The idea of your 5 years of law school should be for you to curate or to make your resume in a manner that you are so desirable for your employer who is waiting for you after you graduate after 5 years. Now, when we talk of building your resume in these 5 years, there are three things which you have to focus on majorly when we talk of your journey in law school. The first is your participation in extracurricular activities. Now, let me break this bubble for all of you. A lot of people think that law schools are all about studying and all about mugging up, and we keep on having exams every year, 2 times a year, and internships. Let me break that bubble. Law schools are all about extracurriculars as well. As much as they focus on academics, the same amount of focus is given on extracurricular activities as well. Now, when we talk of extracurricular activities, the most important activity which a law school focuses on is moot court competitions. So always focus on building your resume in the sense that you should participate in good number of extracurricular activities. Now, somebody might have interest in participating in moot court competitions. Somebody may not have interest in participating in moot court competitions, which is fair enough. However, when we talk of extracurriculars, while moot is the most important activity which a law student should ideally take part in, there are other activities as well. So a lot of law schools have now started to organize cultural fests. They have a lot of cultural events. You should definitely take part in those events. A lot of law schools also have a lot of sports events which are ongoing. It's very important if you are a, if you're someone who's fond of sports, definitely take part in sports. Now, somebody might feel that, why should I waste my time and, participate in sports? Let me give you a very practical example here. I interviewed a person a couple of days back, and I saw in his resume, he'd written that, he is a basketball player. And I asked him about for his two qualities that, I should take him, on the basis of which I should take him. So he told me that, as you would see in my resume, I'm a basketball player, which reflects that I'm a team player and I will be an asset to your organization because I am a team worker. So that is something which, was the point which I decided that this person knows how to use his strength and how to link that strength to a sport that he was playing while he was in law school. So please understand the broader picture. The broader picture is that whatever you do in your law school in terms of your extracurricular activities will never go waste. So please, from the start of your law school, focus on participating in as many co-curricular activities as possible. The next important aspect that you should focus on is on writing research papers. Now, research papers play a very important role, and in at least 5 years of law school that you will have in front of you, ideally, a law student should have, if not anything, 3 to 5 research papers which should be published with an ISBN number. Unless you have some publications on your resume, a potential employer may not be as interested as he may be in somebody who has a publication. Let me tell you, till the time you're in law school, all of you are equal. But you should understand that you are competing against your friend to get that one job which is right outside in the market. So at that point of time, your friends will never come to you and tell you to, they will never waive their option of getting into that law firm job or that in-house corporate job. You all are competing for the same thing. So it's very important for you to have an edge over others. And how you can have an edge over others is if you start as soon as you can. If you start early, there are a lot of students I know who do not recognize the importance of building their resume from first year. And all that they do is that towards the end of their law school life, maybe in the 4th or the 5th year, they start building up their resume. Then they will start writing up articles, or they will start participating in 1 or 2 activities. I think that's not the kind of approach that anybody should follow, because constant work is something that comes to your use always in life. So start from the very beginning. Focus on research publications. It is very important, right? Then the other aspect is internships. Definitely, this is something that all of you will recognize the importance of once you enter law school. So normally all national law schools have a policy of giving 2 breaks in the year for undertaking internships. One is the summer internship and the other is the winter internship. If I do a basic maths, it comes to almost 9 to 10 internships that you can do on in your 5 years. However, trust me, those 9 to 10 internships are something which everybody is doing. You're not an extraordinary kid in that situation. What you have to do is that you have to do more internships, as many internships as possible. The internships have to be structured, in the sense, if you know that after 5 years you would want to pursue a career in let's just say corporate laws, then try and intern in that sort of sector, in that sort of field. That's, of course, I know it may sound a little premature to you, but these are things which you should keep in mind. So the third important aspect is your internships and how you should focus on your internships. So let me just sum up this aspect to you, that the idea of beautifying, or the idea of using 5 years, is to make this beautiful dish called resume. This dish has 3 ingredients. The first is extracurricular activities. The second is research publication. The third is your internships. And of course, as they say that you have to garnish your dish very well. So the garnishing is done by your CGPA, your academics. That is the crux of your 5 years at your law school. Do not just focus on academics, focus on, because the garnishing comes at the end of it. Unless the dish is prepared, you will not be able to garnish it, right? So similarly, prepare the dish. However, do not forget to garnish it. So do not forget academics ever. Academics are something which will be there with you lifelong. So do not ever undervalue the importance of CGPA. In India, things are still in the stage of development, and we're still a little traditional when it comes to approach. Academics, yes, plays a very important role. Marks do certainly play a very important role. If it was not for marks, anybody could have got admission in CLAT, and everybody would have graduated from a national law school. So of course, it's all a game of marks. It's all a game of ranks, which is something that all of you have to understand and start to focus on from today. So, when we talk of law school, always focus on a law school. And this is, of course, leading me to my third point of discussion, which is on CLAD. Always focus on a law school which will help you achieve your dream at the end of the day. Do not just randomly take something just because you are qualifying for it, just because you have the rank for it. So a lot of students I know have waived and have given up on national law schools to, to pursue law from a private law school, simply because there were certain aspects which they were keeping in mind while deciding which law school will be able to help them achieve their dream in a better manner. So while marks are of course important, and which is exactly why you should focus on preparing for CLAD, but the broader point here being focus on a law school which will cater to your end dream, of becoming a professional. So now let me discuss, and I was just honestly, how should I approach this? The big elephant in the room, which is CLAD, of course. And when we talk of CLAD, I would, I would obviously be taking questions once I finish my discussion. So anybody who has any questions in view of the discussion that we are having should either put it on the chat box. I can take it simultaneously, or Shweta can, moderate the questions and she can pass the questions to me, and I'll be happy to take them. All right. So addressing the elephant in the room, which is CLAD. Let me tell you that. When I gave CLAT in 2010, I did not fare so well to crack the top national law schools, very honestly. That did not deter me from doing well in my life. And that did not also deter me from focusing on what I want to achieve after 5 years, after studying law for 5 years in a law school. So while CLAT is very important, I would just want to focus on a couple of tips which you should keep in mind now, because we are just perhaps we just have to say 20-21 days before CLAT exam takes place. So the first and the most important point that I would want to make here is that structure your priorities. Now, CLAT is a time bomb. Let's just say that, okay? Why I call it a time bomb is because it's all a game of managing your time very well. So time management is something that is time management is something that is very important when we talk of CLAD, which is why I put across my first point to you, which was on structuring your priorities. So if you have a structure of your priorities vis-a-vis what section of CLAT examination would you want to attempt first, what is something that you would want to attend later, all of this can be structured on the basis of managing your time very well. So if you know you have 2 hours in front of you, focus on the part which is your strength. Always start from your strength. Do not start from your weakness and go to your strength. Start from your strength, then go to your weaker points. All right. So if you know that your GK is your strength, try and focus from that part and then go to the other sections, because what happens is that if you are focusing on your strength first, you will take lesser time to complete that portion, and mentally you will be at peace that at least one section is over. So always start from your strength. The next point is that you should, before CLAT, obviously this is a given that a lot of all your teachers would have told you to take mock examinations, and as many mock papers as possible. You should solve those mock papers. Of course, that you should, subject to the time that you already have in front of you. However, my advice to you is that don't overdo it. Do not focus on solving a mock paper every day. Give yourself some break. So if you want to solve a mock paper, I would say that alternatively solve your mock papers. Don't do it in a sequenced manner, because mock papers definitely will help you identify what your weaker areas are. So suppose today if you solve a mock paper, my advice to you is identify what are the weaker points, which, or the weaker section that you see, or the, if you give yourself marks, then you will understand which part do you still have to focus a little on. So on the next day, focus on that part, and then day after take another mock exam to see how well have you now fared in that weaker part. That's my tip to you on focusing on the sections. uh the most important is that since we are towards the fag end of your preparation, you should focus on your mental health more than anything. Don't stress, because there is nothing that you will gain by stressing. And the more you stress, you will tend to forget things which you have been preparing for so many days now. And let me tell you, you should feel blessed that you've had some extra days to prepare. I know, for you, COVID-19 should be seen as blessing in disguise. For us, I remember that we had our board exams in the month of March, and I remember we barely had not even a month or a month and a half to actually revise through what we had studied before. So be count your blessings, and feel blessed that you have been given these extra months to focus on whatever you were taught all these months before. So now is the time for you to not read or not concentrate on anything that is new, or anything which may lead to any sort of confusion. So don't really venture in any new territory now. Now is the time to only focus on what you know, and to brush up on the aspects which you're already taught. Revise whatever you have done in classroom. Do not, my suggestion, of course, this is a personal suggestion. My suggestion to you is don't venture into a new avenue or a new territory at this point of time, because it may lead to a lot of confusion. And as a result, you on some topics which you are aware of already. So don't do that, right? The other aspect is, even if you are the sort of person who believes in studying, say, 8 to 10 hours a day, even if that is the approach you follow, there is no harm in following that approach. But do remember to take small breaks. And when I talk of breaks, the most important form of taking a break is to just getting up from your room or getting up from your study table and going out on, don't go out. Obviously, right now is not the time to actually go out and walk, but maybe just go and have a walk on the terrace, get some fresh air, maybe, speak to your parents for 5-10 minutes, feel a little lighter in your head, and then come back and resume your studies. So take small breaks. It's not necessary for you to take breaks which which go on for, say, hour and a half. A 10-minute break is also something which is good enough, as long as it is able to refresh you. So always focus on taking small breaks. Now, the other thing is, believe in one fundamental aspect, which is that it's not about hard work anymore. For you, it's about smart work now. Whatever hard work was to be done, you've already done that hard work. You know everything. Have that confidence and have that faith in you that you know everything. And you will not forget anything overnight. You have revised so much that there is nothing that can be wiped off from your memory overnight, or in the span of the next 20 days also, for that matter. So now is the time for you to have some sort of self-confidence and self-belief, and say that, yes, I know everything. all I have to do is keep myself calm and composed and revise on things which are important and smartly do it. So the idea, again, I know there are a lot of people who follow different approaches when it comes to revising also. Some believe in, again, studying from 8 to 10 hours a day. Some do not. Some believe in smart revision. When I say smart revision, it can be, you pick up one subject or you pick up one module and you just quickly want to skim through the important concepts and the important topics and you're done with it. So some believe in smart revision. So try and revise, but try and revise smartly. So it's not about hard work. It might be about trying to be smart at what you're doing. I'm sure all of you will have a timetable to follow. I'm sure all of you would have made a structure or a timetable basis which you might be doing your revisions or basis which you might be preparing or solving your mock exams. Definitely that is the most important and the most integral aspect, because having a timetable is of course going to give you a structure of how your day should be. More than that, having a timetable and being able to follow it is a reflection of your time management skills, because like I said, CLAT is a time bomb. Okay, so all that you have to focus on is managing your time and faring well in those 2 hours. So you have to manage your time very well. Stick to the timetable if you have one, and if you don't have one, I wouldn't recommend you to make one at this stage, because it's just 20 days, and the idea of this session is not to scare you. The idea of this session is to tell you that you still have time. However, you have to make the most of the time in a very smart manner now. You don't have to panic. The more you panic, the less time you have in hand to do anything productive. So don't panic. Mental health is very important. Please focus on your mental health. Don't have any sort of anxiety. Don't have any sort of stress. Do focus on getting good rest and getting a good sleep every night. I know a lot of people, what they do is that they study at night for longer duration and they tend to sleep at during the morning hours. That really, plays a lot with your body clock and your body cycle. My advice to all of you is that please get into a cycle, get into a routine now. Try and sleep well. Have a 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night, because it's not that you have to mug up anything. And CLAT has never been about mugging up. It's all about understanding. Once you've understood, you're not going to forget it. So it's nothing that you will forget in the next 20 days. Focus on that. But time management, like I emphasized on, is the key for cracking CLAT examination. The other thing is I've been also reading about the fact that now you have a lot of reading. The reading section has been changed lately in CLAT. So in order to improve, or in order to fare well in that section, I would suggest that all of you should improve on your reading speed. I'm sure all of you have smartphones, all of you have timers. So whenever you are reading, and how you can do this as a matter of, again, a small tip is that pick up a newspaper, any newspaper that you may have or that you may get at home. Pick up a newspaper and go to the editorial section of that newspaper. Try and time yourself, say 10 minutes or say 5 minutes, and try and read, say 3 to 4 articles. See what is your reading speed. In this manner, you will be able to read faster. You will be able to read the question paper faster. A lot of people tend to waste time in rereading the question paper, because sometimes you don't understand something. Of course, you have to reread. So reading and the speed for reading is something that you have to focus a lot on. So improve in whatever time you have now. Improve your reading speed, because the faster you read, the faster you process, and the faster you process, the faster you are able to put it across on the paper. So you see, it's a circle. Faster you read, faster you process, faster you write, and you move on to the next question. Simple. Try and improve that. Do not, of course, this is the most obvious tip, but let me share this tip with you again. Don't really get stuck to a particular question, or at times don't get stuck to a particular section. It may be the case that you're not able to get any answers in the GK section, and the GK section is, let's just say, a little tougher than what you expected it to be. So don't get stuck and don't get demotivated at that point of time after reading the first 5 or the first 6 questions that, I don't know any answer. What do I do? Leave that section for that time being and move to the next section. Because once you start your exam, the first hour of the exam is very crucial, because it's again a game of time management. As much as you are able to achieve in the first hour, the next hour will be as simple. Because if you're able to achieve your maximum in the first hour, in the second hour you will be a little relaxed, and towards the end of it, let's just say the last 10 to 15 minutes, if you have been able to manage time so well, you may have time to revise or go through those questions which you did not attempt at the first point. I'm sure all of you are aware that CLAT has negative marking of 0.25. So when we talk of negative marking, you know the disadvantages of negative marking. So try and be very sure before you attempt a question that you are not aware of. A lot of people believe in guesswork, but let me tell you, when it comes to CLAT, please do not focus on guesswork. Focus on only those questions which you are thorough with. Because imagine if you are given a negative mark of 0.25 for every wrong answer, and if there are, say, 10 questions on which you are making a guesswork, it's going to be counterproductive, in the sense that it's going to backfire on you. So don't really focus on guesswork in CLAT at all, because that is something that is going to come and hit you really bad. Now, of course, these are some few tips that I wanted to share with you when we talk of CLAT examination. But the most important tip that I, have still not really mentioned is that doing well in CLAT is very important. Yes, because CLAT is the stepping stone for you towards reaching the best law schools in India, definitely. And everyone aspires to join the best law schools in India, and especially the top 5 national law schools. Yes, that's true. However, always remember that CLAT is not going to be the end of the world for you. If you are, for some reason, not able to fare well in CLAT, it is not the end of the world. It does not determine your destiny. It does not determine how good a lawyer you will be after 5 years or not. CLAT is, yes, one of the stepping stones, but we have various such stones which can make you a lawyer in life. So focus on CLAT, but never focus in the sense that your self-confidence or your own belief in yourself is undervalued. Never do that. CLAT is very important. Yes, the whole completely agree, but here I am sitting in front of you, someone who did give CLAT but did not go to the top national law schools, pursued education from a private law school, did fairly well, let's just say, in the limited professional journey that I have had so far. So that did not deter me from progressing in my life. So CLAT is not the end of the world. And the other thing is, never compare your caliber with others, with your friends or with your colleagues or anybody. Never compare your caliber. If your friend is studying for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, doesn't warrant you to also study for 8 hours or 10 hours a day. You yourself have to identify and determine what your capability is. Your friend may have a different pace of reading. You may have a different pace of reading. Your friend may take longer to understand the concept. You may not take as long to understand the concept. You may take maybe lesser time to understand the concept, which is why it's not important for you to study for 10 to 12 hours a day. That doesn't make you, that shouldn't make you feel that you have not given your 100% in preparing for CLAT. Because like I said, it's about smart work and it's not about hard work anymore. Your hard work is done. You've done your hard work, which is why we are having this discussion. Now is the time to do the smart work. And the smart work, the art of getting there, or the art of actually acing it, is by, focusing on only yourself and not comparing yourself or your capability with anybody else. Not with your friends, not with your peers, not with other students. Because let me tell you, the kids who are, studying with you at Vikalp, they must be handful in number, but your competition is not with them. Your competition is with everybody across India who is wanting to get that one seat in national law school which you are aiming for. Your competition is also with all those people who dropped last year and who will be appearing this year. And let me tell you, some of them may be much better prepared in terms of attempting CLAT, because they have already given CLAT once. They exactly know where they went wrong last year, which is why this year they will not go, hopefully not go wrong or not go on the wrong direction. So let me tell you that the moment you start thinking about these people, it will demotivate you. It will have some sort of an impact on your self-confidence. So don't think of anything else. You think of yourself, think of your capabilities, and think of the hard work that you've already done. Because at the end of the day, examination center, it's only you who knows how well you have done in your head. You may tell your friends that, yeah, I did extremely well and I'm going to get this amount of marks. And you may come on, your parents will ask you that how's the paper. You may tell them that it was amazing, and you're hoping for a good rank. But at the end of the day, how well have you done is something which is truly known to your mind. So you are answerable to yourself. That is about it. You're not answerable to your parents. You're not answerable to your friends. You're not answerable to your teachers. You're answerable to yourself. Your hard work is answerable to yourself. Your, cracking CLAT or not being able to crack CLAT again is something which is going to be, let's just say, a game of thoughts which will keep on hindering you in your mind. Because your mind is a very powerful component of your body. You know that, right? It's going to hamper you the moment you sit for the exam. It's going to hamper you the moment you come out of the exam. You have to take charge of those thoughts which come in your head. You have to calm yourself. You have to know that these are the 2 hours which you have been putting your effort and hard work for all these months, all these days, and now is the time to ace it. So you should not think of what the other person is doing or how well the other person is going to do, but just focus on what you have to do, because at the end of the day, that is all that will matter. And for once, if you do not qualify CLAT or if you don't get into a national law school, don't feel disheartened, because as I said, it's not the end of the world. There is life beyond this, and you will definitely understand this from your own experience. I can only share my experience with you, but you will definitely understand this, that there is life beyond this. I hope all of you were able to take some inputs out of the tips and out of the discussion that I have had with you today. I would just want to take any questions that any of you may have. You can perhaps unmute yourself, or maybe you can put it in the chat box and I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, anybody who has any questions, please ask.
Ma'am, I had a doubt. Actually, I was wondering about something.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, I was wondering, would it be better to join a law firm or corporate after you complete your law school?
So Avanti, I will, like I explained you, the various avenues that you have after law school. This also depends a lot on the interest that you have and that you have developed in your 5 years of law school. So it completely depends on that. A lot of people may develop interest in corporate laws. A lot of people may not develop interest in corporate laws. So this is something that, are you taking CLAT this year, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so whenever you do start to read up on what the avenues are and how you should approach those avenues, and if you're able to make up your mind that corporate laws are something which interest you, or corporate laws are something which do not interest you, that will be an easier way of judging whether you want to pursue a career in a law firm or in in-house or in a company. So that is a lot to do with what area of law or what interest you actually garner in those 5 years of law school. Because as of now, I understand you're not aware of the various areas of law, right?
Yeah, not that very well.
Correct. So once you actually start pursuing law, once you get acquainted to life at law school, you will of course be coming across various areas of law which will be taught to you. There'll be something like companies law, there'll be something like competition law, there'll be something like an arbitration law, there'll be something like an IPR. So all this will help you assess and gain some perspective as to what is your area of interest. Basis which my suggestion is that you should then decide on taking up your avenue or your career path.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay,
Ma'am,
before we take any other question, let me just make you a small announcement. Students, please stay back. There will be an important announcement that we are going to make after this session. Okay, you can move ahead. I think Madhushri has a question.
Ma'am, actually, I wanted to ask, does a master's degree affect in jobs in corporate sector or in any law firm?
So a master's degree, when you say master's degree, are you talking about a master's in law particular?
Yes, ma'am. Or after LLB, you can go for MBA and all, as you said. So
Yes.
any master's degree, does it affect in getting job in law firm?
Of course. So it again, Madhushri, again, there are two views to this. In a lot of companies or in a lot of in-house opportunities, having a master's degree definitely plays a very important role. Because let me just take a very small example of someone pursuing an MBA. So a lawyer who also has an MBA degree will of course be looked up and will obviously have a better avenue in terms of career growth in any company, right? As against somebody who only has an LLB degree. So master's degree definitely plays a very important role when you talk of your career or the growth in your career. And for that matter, educational degrees will never go waste. Any form of master's degree that you will take up will never go waste as such. So they will definitely add to your growth in terms of career growth.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, actually, I have a doubt
Yeah.
that whether we should take BCom LLB or BBA LLB if I want to become a corporate lawyer.
Well, to be honest, I'm sorry I didn't get your name. I don't know whose question
My
that
name is
was.
Shivani Gupta.
Okay, Shivani. Well, to be very honest, Shivani, when we talk of corporate laws, and I tell you from my practical, experience, when you talk of corporate laws or when you want to become a corporate lawyer, it's barely anything to do whether you take a BBA LLB course or whether you take a BCom LLB or whether you take a BA LLB. It's very less to do with that. The only advantage that you may have when it comes to do you come from commerce background?
Yes.
Right. So the only advantage which I see is that you can only put those experiences in the sense that you're aware of accounts and you're aware of management and economics, such subjects like these. So if you want, you can put these to use when we talk of BBA LLB. Now, when we talk of BCom LLB, obviously this becomes a little more technical in nature because this will be a lot to do with your financial accounting, your cost accounting, and it becomes a little more technical to handle. At the end of the day, a corporate lawyer or who can actually become a corporate lawyer has nothing to do with whether you pursue BA LLB or a BB LLB or a BCom LLB. Because what is important here is your basic understanding of the concept. And since you come from a commerce background, you already have that understanding, right? So it's
Yes.
nothing to do with you pursuing either of them. You can go and take up any of the options.
Thank you.
Ma'am, from which year internship should be done and why, as of from your experience?
From which year? Okay. So ideally, you should start interning from your first year. I started interning from my first year. All law schools have a policy of internships, like I was telling you. And that policy is basically that you, as a law student, you have to intern twice in 1 year, which makes it roughly 9 to 10 internships that you have to pursue. So internships should be done from the first year itself. Normally what happens is that when you're in your first year, you are not aware of various legal subjects, or your legal understanding is very limited. So a lot of law schools encourage that law students should intern with some NGO, or some should be a part of some social cause, depending upon what the law school really mandates you to do. So a lot of options are available. If you look at NGOs, you can always go as a first year law school student. Also, if you go, it's going to give you a great exposure of how things work.
And ma'am, for what tenure we should be associated with specific firm or company in internship?
In internship, so
Yes.
normally how it works in India is that normally internships are given for a period of 1 month, ideally. Of course, you can get an extension of internship subject to there being a vacancy of an intern. And the assessment internships which run as a program, or which a lot of law firms or companies run as a program, the assessment internships in some places run for 3 to 6 months, but in a typical internship lasts for only a month. So you have no option but to intern for 1 month to begin with. Of course, if you want, and if you are very keen on interning at the same place, you can definitely request them to give you an extension. If you are not able to get an extension, you can definitely apply for internship at the same place in the next time that you have your internship break for, right? So you can structure it in that manner. But my suggestion to you is always try and get acquainted to various offices and various structures, and which is when you will be able to understand how industry functions at large, right? So if you want to intern only at one place from first year, or in a particular year, then that may restrict your option in terms of understanding what are the other options that you have in hand.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Ma'am, you said about writing and publishing research papers as law students.
Yes.
I wanted to ask what exactly is that we do in research papers? Is it
Sure.
something like an analysis of certain issues, or what?
Correct. I'll tell you what that is. Okay, that's a very good question, in fact. So, when I talk of publication of research papers and articles, what I mean to say here is that as a part of your curriculum in law school, you will be given various research assignments and various research projects every semester, and that begins from the first semester and it goes on till the 10th semester. All right, so as a part of your assessment process, you will be given a lot of assignments to work on, research assignments. Now when I talk of a research paper or a research assignment, what I mean to say is, and this is like experience how I did it. What I used to do was, since I was working very hard on the research papers, I used to work a little harder after the submission was done, and curate it in the sense that I can get it published in some journals. Now, what a research paper contains? That's a good question. A research paper can contain research on any topic. Now, something like let me just give you an example. Uh, the let's just say patriarchy in India and women empowerment. All right, let me just take that as a research topic. Now, in this, you will have to first, when you are developing a research paper, the idea is that you have a research topic in front of you, and you structure it in the sense that you start from the very historical background of the topic and you go to the recent time. Now, how you have to write a research paper, obviously this we will need a full length discussion for me to make you understand how to actually write a research paper, because it's very technical. But what I can tell you is that research papers are basically based on any topic which is legal and which the society at large is facing, or can be anything. And you should it has to be an original piece, of course, and you can send this for publication to various journals. I'm sure you would be aware of various law journals which are there out, right? So, and all national law schools have a journal, so you can send it in any of the journals subject to the topic you're writing on. If you want to write on some IPR, intellectual property rights topic, then you have specific journals for that. So research paper contains basically a research, let me just put it across simply, research on a specific topic. which is supported by evidence, which is supported by various resources, authorities, cases, books, journals, everything. And we can definitely, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can definitely, anybody for that matter who would want to connect with me can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will definitely be happy to help you in whatever way possible. Anyone else who would want to ask something?
Thank you so much, Ms. Shreya.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so the announcement for our students is that, as I've already mentioned, Shreya Seth is a professional trainer, and she is running an online certification course on mooting and professional skills. So anybody who is interested for such course, so you can directly contact me so that I can forward your contact number to Ms. Shreya.
Right. Or otherwise, Shweta, on the contrary, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can also contact me through LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to help them and guide them on the course there. So as of now, I'm running this as an online course. I will definitely be running this as an offline course as well for all those who are interested to join. And this course, let me give you a brief, now that Shweta has already talked about it, let me give you a very brief overview of what this course is. This course is basically on professional skill development and moot courts. Mooting, which I was mentioning about in my discussion with you, is a very important part of law school. So this course is everything to do with your professional skill development. A lot of people don't know how to apply for internships, how to apply for interviews. They don't know how to really write a cover letter. They don't know what mooting is all about. So the course will contain, a basic 2 modules on these 2 aspects. I will definitely be taking a offline course on this also, as and when the situation gets better. As of now, the course is online, and I believe in taking smaller batches of people, and I will be running this course in various batches. So it's going to be a first come first basis for registration. Anyone who's interested can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, or can also contact Shweta. Shweta can share my number with you, and you can definitely sign up for the course. It's not a very long course, so the commitment as such is not going to be a very long commitment.
Okay, thank you so much. It's done from our end.
Okay, thank you so much, Shweta, and thank you everyone who joined me for this discussion. I definitely would want to wish you all good luck for your CLAT on 28th, and I hope you all fare or do really, really well. And I'm sure Vikalp has given you all the facilities in terms of your curriculum and modules, and you will be able to do extremely, extremely well, all thanks to the faculty at Vikalp and the notes that they have given. Thank you so much.